Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of City Spotlight. I'm your host, Pablo Pereira. We're out front of Calabasas City Hall, and did you know this is one of the most energy efficient government buildings in all of Southern California? Well, speaking of energy, that's the subject of today's City Spotlight as we go one-on-one with Southern California Edison. Let's go inside and check it out. All right, we're here with Rudy Gonzales of Southern California Edison. Thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure.
So your role as a representative of Edison is what?
My role is to work with our local governments, keep our local governments informed on Edison activity that might have an impact on the cities directly and or their residents, and also to keep tabs on what the cities are doing that might have an impact on how Edison does our business in the community.
One of the things you talked about earlier when we were speaking a few minutes ago is you talked about city conservation, and you had commented on the building. We're in City Hall right now.
Right.
You were talking specifically about this building here as a good example of what cities can do.
Right, this is a fairly new City Hall facility compared to many of the cities that I work with. And the city did a very good job of implementing energy efficiency measures to make this as energy efficient a building as possible. We preach conservation at every opportunity. It's something that we heed our customers to do on a daily basis. And we hope that they hear us and that they help us out by conserving whenever possible.
I guess it's nice to kind of see a city government, though, get involved in this at a level and in a public space, though.
Absolutely. Cities can set the great example for their residents, and we hope that residents realize how far the city went in terms of implementing these energy efficiency measures. Cuts down on their electric bill, so it saves the taxpayers money in the long run.
And what are the most important issues in conservation for residents right off the bat?
Awareness is number one. Realizing that residents can do little things that can go a long way towards reducing their power usage. And in doing so, it helps out the utilities by, it helps us by not having to think about building new power plants. It would be so difficult in this day to try to site a new power plant anywhere on the coast, inland. Right now, the biggest challenge that we have is attempting to meet the renewable power standards that have been mandated by the state.
Yeah, let's try to break that down and simplify what that is.
Okay, the state legislature mandated that the state's investor-owned utilities have a 20% renewable power portfolio as part of their generation mix. So by 2010, we were able to meet that 20% mandate, and we have a stretch goal of being at 33% by the year 2020. And the challenge that goes along with meeting those mandates is that renewable power typically is solar, wind, geothermal. Those types of facilities are typically built far into the inland area of California, and the biggest issue is trying to get it from where it's built to where it's going to be used, typically in the LA Basin area.
So would going from, say, 20% to 33% of this renewable type of energy, solar, wind, whatever, create less of a dependency on, say, the nuclear plant down in San Onofre, and allow us to maybe get away from power sources that have been somewhat controversial in the past?
Well, the challenge with renewable power is that it's not always available when you need it. The wind doesn't always blow and the sun doesn't always shine, so even though we may get to our 33% mandate by 2020, we still need to have hard generation in place in the event that those facilities aren't generating. So we definitely need to have a redundant system, particularly in the evening hours when the sun's down and during the days that the wind isn't blowing.
But let's look forward into the future, not a year from now, 2020 or whatever. What types of things are on the horizon that people are looking into, that your people are looking into, that may be sources of energy we haven't even thought about yet?
Well, again, the difficulty is siting new facilities. One challenge that the state has now is that there's legislation or regulation that's being considered that will eliminate the use of ocean water for cooling purposes for these generation plants that are on the coast. So these owners of these facilities have to look at retooling and at great expense their facilities in order to accommodate the elimination of using ocean water for cooling purposes. So we've got to look at different ways of doing it than we have historically. Again, solar is, we're the number one purchaser of solar power in the world. Southern California, Edison is. But again, it's not always available, so we've always got to have that backup power available when the sun's not shining.
Calabasas is somewhat unique, as are many valley cities, is we really do have a climate season, unlike, say, some of your customers on the west side who may have a closer temperature. It stays similar year round. I mean, in the summer we can be 100, 102, 103, and in the winter we can get very cold at night. So our dependency really kind of has more of a shifting in seasons, I would think, than other parts of the city. Absolutely,
and Calabasas is an ideal location to site solar, rooftop solar for customers who choose to do so. And the climate is such that we could take full advantage of the sun, particularly during the summer months when the demand is highest. And we offer classes to attempt to educate residents of the incentives and rebates that are available from the California Solar Initiative program. Governor Schwarzenegger implemented a Million Solar Roofs program, and he devoted a lot of resources towards providing incentives and rebates for customers who choose to go solar.
So what would you suggest to people who are interested in putting up a solar roof? Only because it seems like there's a lot of companies coming out of the woodwork right now, a lot of people I know knocking on doors offering solar roofs. What should someone do before they decide to go that route, and how can Southern California Edison help them?
Well, we have a solar group within Southern California Edison, and our job is to provide some basic education to our customers so that they know the right questions to ask of these solar installers. And we recommend that customers who are considering going solar get at least 3 bids from reputable solar companies. There's very many different programs that are being offered now, including lease programs where the resident doesn't have to pay any money up front. They enter into a lease program with their solar company, and they pay on a monthly basis, and they actually save money on their electric bill, and the solar company shares in the savings.
So how do you determine I mean, it's still fairly new technology.
Right.
As a consumer, and this is a big investment for people. I mean, the track records are not 5, 10, 20 years.
Right.
I mean, is there something that Edison offers people to help vet these companies out a little better, or no?
As a company, we're a third party to the process. We're really not in a position to make recommendations or even inform our customers of solar companies that maybe have a bad reputation. It's really up to the customer to do their homework. They can research the Better Business Bureau. They can contact perhaps the cities that they live in and get information on some of the solar installers that have worked with the city and gone through the permit program. But we are not really in a position to make any recommendations on any particular company.
Okay, so we move from solar to more conservation issues. What types of programs are available for, say, low to moderate income families within this area who are looking to cut their energy use?
Well, the one program that comes to mind is the Summer Discount Program. It's a program that we've had in effect for about 6 years now. And what it does, it allows Edison to curtail air conditioning usage, particularly during peak usage times, in an effort to try to keep from having to implement rotating outages, which are the non-voluntary curtailment of electricity. We have a large number of customers who are on the program, and whenever we see that demand is exceeding generation capacity, we implement the program where we're able to reduce usage on our system by curtailing air conditioning usage. And customers can get up to $200 in incentives during their summer months billing periods as an incentive to sign up for the program. And it's worked out very well for us and for the customer. As I mentioned, it's been in place for about 6 years, and we've only had to implement the program maybe 8 to 10 times. So it's a minimal inconvenience for significant savings on their summer bills.
Right, and up front, I mean, I did sign up for that program. I thought it was a good idea. But I guess my concern would be if it's 105 and you cut my electricity or my air conditioner, what safeguards do seniors have and people that
Right.
they're not gonna overheat in their homes?
And that's why we have different levels of the program. You can sign up for as short a period as 1 hour a day, or the full program, which is 8 hours a day. Now, all this does is it shuts down the condenser in your air conditioner. The air will still flow through your home, so it's not like the home is going to become stifling hot immediately. There's air still flowing through the home.
So an 8-hour period would be the maximum.
That would be the max, and the customer would receive the maximum incentive with a longer program.
Aren't there state programs available as well, or county programs that help with energy getting into the homes and changing things from light bulbs to door seals and things like that that are available to some folks as well?
Absolutely. Energy Upgrade California is a program where residents in the cities that we serve have the ability to receive up to $4,000 in rebates and incentives for taking various measures of replacing equipment in their home, whether it's sealing the doors or sealing windows, sealing the air conditioning ducts in their home. There's various measures that they can take, and there's incentives available, again, up to $4,000 per customer through Energy Upgrade California.
And that's one program. I'm talking, I think there's another program for low income that has people come in your home and do the work in your home for free.
It's been a while since we've offered something like that. We did have a program where we had contractors go out to small businesses and do work for free. Those were monies that were available on a periodic basis. Unfortunately, those programs are not in place today. If customers want to upgrade their home and make it more energy efficient, it would be done on their expense. But there are some programs and rebates available that they can receive monies for doing the work.
So what's the number one cause of energy waste inside a home?
A second refrigerator in the garage. You know, when people call and they are concerned about a high bill they receive, the first question I always ask is, do you have a refrigerator in the garage? And people don't realize that a refrigerator in the garage has to work just about twice as hard as a refrigerator in a home, because you typically don't cool your garage, so as warm as it gets out in the community and there's no cooling in the garage, that refrigerator is cycling much more than the refrigerator that you have in your air-conditioned home. So that's one of the first identifiers. Air conditioning usage is also a very high energy user. We always encourage our customers to increase their thermostat to at least 78 degrees, 80 or 81 degrees if they can stand it, in an effort to try to minimize their air conditioning usage.
If they can stand it, right?
If they can stand it is the key, right?
I mean, we like to be comfortable. We do live in a hot climate during the summer, for sure.
Absolutely, but when the temperature is 105 outside and you set your thermostat to 80 or 82, you know, you walk in from the warm air into the 82-degree coolness, it's pretty comfortable. So in a climate like this, I think 78 degrees is probably very comfortable. 82 is maybe bordering on just a little warm.
A little warm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think 100 and something is, you know, a little ridiculous for most of us. But, you know, we live here and there's a trade-off. We get the nice warm evenings as well. So lights and light bulbs and things, I mean, personally, a lot of people, I think, even though are the bulbs getting better looking, better efficient? I know a lot of people complain about just the looks of the squirrely, you know, the bulbs and stuff.
There have been improvements in the look of the compact fluorescent light bulbs, and they reduce usage by about 75% compared to an incandescent bulb. And they're coming out in different designs, so they're not so odd looking. But we encourage customers to change out all of their incandescent bulbs to compact fluorescent light bulbs. And you go to a Home Depot and you can take advantage of instant rebates. We work in partnership with some of the home improvement stores, and when you go in, you'll see a sign that provides a reduced cost for these light bulbs, and it's through instant rebates and incentives that we offer to the home improvement stores.
So we're going to move from that, and we're going to talk a little bit more about, one of your other roles here, which is coming in and speaking before commissions and educating the public, and
Right.
a lot of discussion recently and still about these so-called smart meters. It's
Right.
something that the Water District implemented not too long ago. Edison implemented not too long ago. What can you tell us about these smart meters and the benefits of them?
Well, smart meters are a result of the Federal Independence and Energy Act of 2007, and that act directed states to become more efficient in their electricity grids. And getting down to the customer level, the deployment of smart meters, which were researched for many years before we installed them, the deployment of smart meters gives customers an opportunity to become more aware of their energy usage. When I came out to City Council, I explained the benefits to the council and spoke to the Communication and Technology Commission and explained that customers now have the ability to monitor their energy usage on a daily basis. They can go online on their computers and bring up their account, and they can learn how much energy they're using on an hourly basis from the day before. So it gives customers a greater awareness of their energy usage. Historically, we've had meters and meter readers that would come out to a home every 28 to 33 days, and we would take a reading, we would send out a bill. Customer wouldn't really have any awareness as to how much electricity they were using until they received their bill at the end of the month. With these smart meters, customers can now monitor their usage on a daily basis, take advantage of some programs that are available to curtail their usage. One of the programs is the Budget Assistant, which allows customers to establish a target for their electric bill on a month-to-month basis. They can receive email, text, or phone message alerts to let them know that they're going above their target so that they can perhaps change their energy usage and meet the goal of the electric bill.
But you've just suggested what the benefits are to the customer. There has to be a benefit to Edison, too.
Well, for Edison, we're saving on the labor of having to send out a meter reader every month to customers. We're saving in terms of minimizing our carbon footprint. We don't have trucks out in the community every day driving around to read meters. We believe that the overall incentives for us to move forward with the smart meters are great for not only for the customer, but also for the company. We also minimize the need to go out and turn on and turn off electricity. We can now do so remotely, which saves on truck traffic for our technicians to go and have to turn on power and turn off power. We have approximately 1 million customers each year who relocate. And for us not to have to go out and send a truck to each location every time that occurs is a big savings to Edison and a benefit to the environment.
It is, but there's been some criticism about these smart meters. What's the criticism been?
The primary concerns that we've heard are radio frequency, exposure, privacy, and security. In terms of privacy, the information that we receive from the smart meters is how much electricity a customer is using and when they use it. It's not anything that's that I think there'd be any particular interest to third parties about. We're not aware of what customers are doing in their home. There's been some concern raised about Big Brother and the fact that we're going to know every movement within a home. That's just not the case. All we're interested in is how much electricity you're using and when you're using it. In terms of security, we use government-approved and recommended encryption when we transmit the information, so it'd be very difficult for a third party to intercept that information. The information that is sent through radio signals, and the radio frequency exposure has been a concern. We've conducted studies. We've worked with independent third-party engineering companies, and we've determined that the smart meters emit just a fraction of the FCC-approved exposure to radio frequency, and in many cases emit much lower amounts than some of the household appliances that you have in the home.
Such as?
Such as a microwave oven, such as a wireless router, such as walkie-talkie. Again, the emission is so low that there are three factors that determine radio frequency exposure: the power level, the distance from the source, and the frequency of transmission. The power level for a smart meter, it operates at about 1/4 of a watt of power. In comparison, a cell phone operates at about 1 watt of power. The distance at about 1 foot from the meter, which is not a distance that most folks would be that close to their smart meter. At about 1 foot, the smart meter is emitting about approximately 2.7% of the FCC-approved exposure level for radio frequency. When you move away from it at 3 feet, it's reduced to about 1/3 of a percent, about 1/10 of the emission from 1 foot. And if you move back to 10 feet, it decreases by another factor of 10. So the further you are away from the meter, the less exposure you have. And we've done readings and we've conducted studies and determined that even on the back side of a wall where the meter sits, the emission or the reading is much, much less than the FCC limits. It's less than a 1/10 of a percent. So science it backs us on our assessment that the smart meters do not emit high levels of radio frequency emissions. And also the final point I want to make is they don't transmit very often. They transmit for microseconds at a time during the course of a day, up to about 5 to 7 minutes a day total. So they're not operating and they're not emitting radio frequency signals 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, like some would have you believe.
And if I just didn't want this in my home, can I opt out of this or no?
Customers have always had the opportunity to refuse a smart meter, but the smart meters are the new standard in California with the investor-owned utilities. And as a result, customers who choose to take non-standard service have to bear the cost of such service. So currently, the fees are $75 upfront to opt out of receiving a smart meter, and then a $10 monthly fee. And we're currently working with the California Public Utilities Commission to determine if those fees will continue or if they will change in the future.
And so for most people, the smart meter you believe is the best option then?
Oh, we believe it provides the customers the tools necessary to make them more aware of their usage and gives them the opportunity to save money.
Don't you think an electric bill is too complicated to read? Honestly, I mean, it's your company.
Right.
You're representing it.
Right.
You're a smart guy. I like to think I'm a fairly smart guy. I find utility bills still about the hardest bill to decipher and decode, if you will.
We've attempted to simplify the bill over time, but we're obligated to provide information for the various components that make up your electric bill. So we have to break it down into generation, transmission, and
which means nothing to most of us, admittedly.
I agree with you. But it's information, we have to break it down, that we're regulated and obligated to break down the bill in that manner. We have added some information that gives some basic dollar information. So, the key to
I mean, can you read the bill and understand it?
I can
fully?
read the bill, but I've been working for Edison for 29 years, so I've been living the industry for 29 years. We went through a deregulation back in the early 2000s, and as a result of deregulation, it changed the way the electric utilities perform their business. And as a result of deregulation, it required us to break out the various components of our bill. So that's why they're as complicated as they are.
So are the smart meters 100% accurate all the time, or is there a small decimal point there of failure on these meters? If I get my bill and this doesn't seem right, is this smart meter always going to prove me wrong, or do they have room for error?
There was extensive testing that took place before even the first smart meter was installed in our service territory. And we've continued to test our meters. If a customer believes that their bill is too high and they believe it's the smart meter that's causing it, we'll come out and test the meter, conduct a field billing inquiry, and confirm that the meter's working accurately. At the same time, we'll take the opportunity when we meet with the customer to provide information on energy efficiency measures that they can take to try to reduce their bill. Because typically it's a high bill that causes them to call the company, and we go out and try to educate whenever we can.
The radio frequency, and I hate to bring that up again, but I need to bring it up again because there's a lot of people who just aren't going to buy it because you've determined that it meets certain rules and regulations and things like that. But admittedly, in how you describe it, you talk about how infrequently it's used, how you get further away the less the radio frequency. I mean, to be 100% honest about it, there is an issue with radio frequencies to begin with. We can agree on that part of this.
You know, radio frequency is an issue with many of our customers, and they've raised the issue many times with us as we deployed our smart meters. But again, you know, we have to rely on the science and on the studies that have been conducted, not only by Edison, but also by reputable third-party organizations. And we hope that our customers will make every attempt to educate themselves on these studies so that they understand that the information that we're providing to them isn't just information that we've developed, but information that we've received from independent third-party reputable firms who have determined that the radio frequency emissions from smart meters is a very minimal exposure compared to what we realize in our homes every day.
But there are things in our home, I mean, exposure to any of these things is not necessarily good over a long period of time. I mean, you mentioned things like microwaves and things, and they tell you don't stand right in front of your microwave for a long period of time. So, I mean, admittedly, we're talking about something here that has a health impact on people over long-term exposure and things. So I guess you can see their point of view.
I can see their point of view. You know, our customers will not hesitate to stand and be on a cell phone held right next to their ear for extended periods of time. Yet when we came in to install our smart meters, you know, they didn't take that into consideration. You know, and the exposure to the smart meters again is such that it's such a minimal amount of exposure, as referenced by the studies that have been done, that unless you're standing with your ear against the meter for an extended period of time, the amount of exposure is similar to what you have in your natural environment. So it's really, it's not the issue that we believe it is based on some of the comments we've received from several of our customers.
Right, and some people you're just not going to sell on this fact. Admittedly, there's going to be people who are not going to agree with your assessment of this.
I've spoken to a lot of customers who will not take the word of the utility. So in those cases, we ask them to go out and do their own research. And ultimately, it's a choice for the customers, and that's why we worked with the Public Utilities Commission to develop an opt-out alternative so that those customers that we're just not going to convince on the safety will have the ability to not receive a meter.
And it is an opt-out option, as you mentioned, and maybe the comparison of putting a cell phone to your ear. I mean, that's a conscious choice you have to make.
Right.
If you come and put a smart meter in my home, I don't necessarily have that choice. I can opt out, but then I have to pay a so-called fee or penalty for doing that. And I think that's where some people might have an issue with it as well.
Right, and as I mentioned earlier, you know, the California Public Utilities Commission directed the utilities to deploy these smart meters in an effort to try to raise awareness of energy use and increase energy conservation. And so it is the new standard in the state, and as a result, any customer who chooses not to receive standard service must pay for a non-standard service.
Okay, so you've been fair, you've held up well with this, and I appreciate it.
Sure.
But now we're going to go show a benefit of the smart meter. We're actually going to go online.
Right.
We're going to go to My House online.
Okay.
You helped me sign up yesterday for this, and you're going to help me do an assessment of my energy use.
Sure.
Is that correct?
We can take a look at your usage yesterday, your usage from month to month over the past year, and we can see if there's any patterns that show why your bill may be as high as it is, and make you more aware of your usage so that you can perhaps make some changes in the way you use energy to reduce your bill. Ultimately, there are going to be peak pricing packages, rates that are available to our customers. So there'll be incentive for customers to not use energy between the hours of 2 o'clock p.m. and 6 o'clock p.m. Currently, the only incentive available is our Save Power Day incentive. Those with smart meters will, if they sign up for the program, will receive notification that a Save Power Day is upcoming, and they can do whatever they can to try to minimize usage between the hours of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. And if they're able to curtail usage based on previous usage history, they can receive incentives of up to $100 a year. So that's in addition to other programs that we have available.
All right, Rudy, so what we've done now is we've actually logged on to the Southern California Edison website, sce.com.
Correct.
Very easy. And what we're going to attempt to do now is, since they recently installed a smart meter in my home, you had me sign up for an account here, and now we're going to go through this a little bit, and you're going to kind of help me navigate through this and get an idea of what my energy use is and how to sign up for some of these things.
Right. Customers that have had smart meters installed at their homes can now go to SCE.com and sign up on my account. And the information on my account will provide the tools to our customers to give them the information they need to be more aware of how much energy they're using on a daily basis, and in fact, even on an hourly basis from the day before.
All right, so what's the first thing? I've logged in, I see I owe no money, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing, you
So
paid your
what's
bill.
what's the first thing I'm going to look at here?
Let's go on to projected next bill. We'll
right.
view your recent usage. So you'll see that the screen shows your daily usage going back to your most recent billing period, which is November 16th.
You can point at it
Oh,
if you like to.
November 16th through December 17th. And you'll see that every day is depicted with a bar, and you'll see that your highest usage date was on November the 22nd, where you used, it looks like, almost 55 kilowatt hours
That was
day.
Thanksgiving Day.
That
right?
was Thanksgiving
That
Day.
was Thanksgiving
That
Day.
was
So
a
that
busy day.
turkey in the oven increased it was the highest day of use to
You
cook that turkey in the
Probably
oven.
had an electric oven running
Yeah.
all day long, and so that did increase your usage that day. So you'll see that your average daily usage is about 37 kilowatt hours a day. So because of Thanksgiving, because you probably had family in the home, your usage was quite a bit higher that day. We can see that on, looks like December 6th, you also had a high day of usage. There must have been a lot of activity in your home that day. So what this graph does is just provides you day-to-day information based on your most recent billing period, and it also tells you what your projected next bill will be. It'll tell you what your bill is up to today's date, and the projected cost for the remaining days in your billing period, and then it gives you a projected cost of what your next bill will be, so that you can prepare for the electric bill.
Okay.
It's
so,
not a surprise to you.
all right, so we've gone through that. We know that maybe I should buy a fryer for the turkey. Is that
That
what
might
this
be a
is
good
saying? I don't know. I have
alternative,
no
yes.
idea. So okay, so from here, where would we go?
Okay, so let's take a look at the hourly usage. Okay, so this is for yesterday. You'll see that it provides an hour-by-hour breakdown of how much energy you're using during the course of the day. So your average hourly usage was a little over 2 kilowatt hours each hour. And you'll see that during the day it's pretty constant. Well, during the evening when you're asleep, it's fairly constant. Then you'll see that in the morning hours when people start waking up in the home, and activity increases and people
What
start
are you pointing
turning
at?
lights
What
on.
time?
This is the 6 o'clock hour, 5 to 6 o'clock hour. Looks like you're early.
That's evening, isn't it?
Oh,
That's
I'm sorry,
PM?
that is evening.
Okay.
That's when you're getting home from, that's when
All
you're
right,
getting
so
home
let's
from
start
work.
again.
Okay.
So here we are at midnight.
Right.
This is the hourly usage.
Correct.
Here we are at midnight.
Right, so at midnight, you're in bed. You may have items in your home that are still plugged in that you don't unplug. And I'll take the opportunity to just say, if you have appliances or equipment in your home that is not being used, it's to your benefit to unplug them if they're not being used. We've determined that this vampire usage, which is the electricity that's being used by
Right.
equipment that's not turned on, accounts for a very large amount of electricity. In fact,
Blenders, toasters, coffee
toasters, any
makers,
other
things like that.
household equipment.
Okay.
We've determined that vampire power, let's just, for instance, CD players, all the CD players in the United States, if we took the energy used by CD players that are plugged in but not being used, and we harness that power, it would be enough power to light up the Las Vegas Strip for 6 months.
Okay.
So
there you
it's
go.
a fair amount of electricity that's being used, but not being maximum.
So
So
look-
at midnight, you'll see it's pretty constant because you're sleeping. In the morning, you got a little bit of an increase when you're waking up, probably getting ready for work. And then you go off to the office and your usage curtails during the course of the day. But then you see around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, that's when folks are typically getting home. And this is a pretty normal pattern. Folks are getting home from the day's work, kids are getting home from school, getting on the computer, starting to play their video games. Typically, the highest usage will be at the home will be between the hours of 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock. And then as people start getting ready for bed and going to bed, the usage will curtail significantly.
Okay, very good. What's next?
Let's go back to the, let's go back to my account. So this is your November bill in detail. Okay, so what this does, let's see. I think we already covered this screen. This is a screen that provides the daily usage information starting from
That looks
October
a little
17th.
different than the other one. Because the other one had Thanksgiving.
Oh, it
on
was, yeah, you're right. This is a previous month's bill. So,
Okay.
so this gives you the opportunity to review your bills on a month-to-month basis. And as you can see on October 17th, there must have been a fair amount of activity taking place at your home because your usage on that day was almost 75 kilowatt hours. So there was something going on. Perhaps you were, again, cooking in the kitchen. But for the rest of the month, it's fairly consistent, you'll see.
And the blues are in weekends.
The blues are the
versus
weekend
gold.
days, and the gold tone is during the week. So this gives you an opportunity to compare your current month's bill to previous month's bill and to see if there's any patterns or trends that have been developed.
Well, here's a monthly trend.
Okay, so this is your bill for December of 2011, going through to July and August of this year, and you can see that the average kilowatt hour usage on a monthly basis was significantly higher in July and August. That's when we typically experience our summer months. Then you'll see October was also, we had a fairly warm October, so October was fairly high as well.
What happened to September?
September must have been the month that you had your meter installed, and for whatever reason,
okay.
it's not depicted in the chart here.
Okay.
But you can expect that your bill will continue to decrease as we experience cooler weather. You're not using your air conditioner as much. Okay, let's go to Savings Center. And the Savings Center provides information on how you can reduce your usage. One of the best ways is to sign up for the Budget Assistance Program. And as I mentioned earlier, the Budget Assistance Program offers our customers the opportunity to set spending limits on their electric bill. And by signing up and establishing a spending limit, we will let you know either via phone call, email, or text message whether you're on target to meet your spending limit. So for folks that are on a very tight budget, this is a great tool to have that will give them daily information on whether they're meeting their goal.
And what is this summer, winter?
Well, these are your, this is your typical average monthly bill during the summer months, June through September. Your average was $164 bill. During the winter months, it went down to $157. So you can use this information to develop your spending goals.
So in other words, you take this slider bar here and say, I want to make my budget less than that or something?
You can slide it over to, let's just say, $150. You want your bill to be $150, and that will be part of your program. And you will then, if you continue the sign-up process, you will receive alerts if you're exceeding your spending goal based on your average daily usage.
And how do I get information about these, like incentive days and things like that? That will be part of this too?
You need to sign up for Save Power Days. Save Power Days is a different program. You sign up for that and you'll be notified via phone call or text message, email. You'll be notified that the next day is a Save Power Day so you can prepare for it. And during the hours of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., if you curtail your usage compared to previous usage, you'll receive an incentive on your electric bill, up to $100 a year.
Okay. Anything else we need to know on here? I see conservation tips, incentives.
Yeah,
we've kind of talked about those things.
We want to make sure that customers are aware of the fact that there's a wealth of energy efficiency program and service information on the SCE.com website. You know, we send out information every month on our electric bills, with our electric bills, but as you mentioned earlier, a lot of folks are going paperless now, so they rely on the internet to get their information. So we encourage our customers to go onto our SCE.com website, investigate what all the programs and services that are available, and take advantage of them. California is the leader in the nation in terms of energy efficiency and the resources we devote to providing incentives for energy efficiency.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition of City Spotlight. We hope you've enjoyed the program. More importantly, we hope you've learned something about energy conservation in your own home. For more detailed information, of course, you can log on to our website, cityofcalabasas.com. I'm Pablo Pereira. Thanks for joining us.